Hi, welcome to the Fundraising Leadership Podcast, episode 16. I'm Janice.
And I'm David, and we are joined today by Pat Mather, who is the Dean of Engineering at Bucknell University. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, David. Hi, Janice, and hi, everybody listening. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so great to have you on the podcast, Pat. Why don't you share with the audience a little bit of your background and like kind of what you're up to as a leader at Bucknell and maybe how we got to know each other. And then we'll talk a little bit about the blog post you wrote.
Sure. Happy to do that. So I'm an engineer and a musician. So I sort of combine those things in everything I do, but I wasn't always a dean. I came up through the ranks. I've been at multiple universities, University of Connecticut, Case Western, Syracuse. And at Syracuse, I got into building things, and I became an institute director and was like, oh, this is cool. Administration actually, though it also often gets sort of a bad take on it, is really interesting and exciting. So when an opportunity to move to Bucknell to be Dean of Engineering popped up a few years ago, I jumped at the chance. It's a great university, but without knowing anything about being a dean. And so I started that 2 years ago. I'm now entering my third year, and there were so many new things going on that I had an idea, I had heard about the concept of executive coaches, and found David Langiuli, and the rest is history, so to speak. I view him very much as a partner in my growth as a leader at Bucknell, and I've just become a student of leading, and I find it fascinating.
Yeah, well, yeah, what I love about one thing you said in there was like you took this leap, like you had no idea what it was like to be a dean, and that actually is what leaders do. We leap before we can never really know what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I hear you. That was a leap. I've made a couple of those, and they've always paid off, but they're not without risk for sure.
Yeah,
I just want to acknowledge too, like Pat, I've come to know you a little bit too in the last little while through some of the courses we run. And I loved how you just said student of leadership, because that's one of the things I really admire about you is your commitment to just continuing to grow. And I think it is a lifetime commitment. When we become leaders and step into that, we have to realize that there's always going to be more that we can grow and evolve into. So
thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And I'll add to Janice's acknowledgement in that the way I see you lead is you're willing, I think this is like at your core, you're willing to do experiments and improvise.
Well, yeah, that's the musician part. I am the type of musician that doesn't know how to sight read, but I'm comfortable like in the unknown, and that's the exciting part. So that's just the musician in me I don't separate that from my work life, really.
Nice. So you accepted an invitation from us not only to be on the podcast today, but also to write a blog post for the fundraising leadership community. And we wanted to thank you for that, for your very thoughtful post. Yeah. And you entitled it The Daily Clean Slate. And so why don't you share a little bit with the audience what that's all about?
Well, sure. What it is sort of a habit, a morning habit that has become fairly fine-tuned over the past year. And what it addresses, I'll get into the details of what it is besides just being a habit, but what it addresses is a natural tendency, a trap I found myself in, not just as dean, but even leading up to that, of starting my day prematurely, I would say, my work day, before really centering on my goals, myself, what I want the day to bring. My calendar basically did that. And that led to exhaustion, bad frame of mind, just really mornings that were not satisfying. And you, David, you get as my coach, I think this came up in one of our sessions. I was expressing sort of the angst about that. And you pointed out the concept of journaling, which was not foreign to me, but I had never done as a habit. And putting that in the morning turns out to be a really effective way to start your day with a clean slate.
Yeah.
A lot more to it, but that was sort of the origin of that.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a practice that I call the morning pages. You're calling it journaling. It comes from Julia Cameron. That's where I picked it up in a book called The Artist's Way. And she takes a stand for all artists in whatever realm you're in. And she takes a stand that we are all artists and that we take time in the morning to journal, longhand, writing in a book, old school. And I've been doing that now for 5 years. You've been doing it for a couple of years now. And so why don't you share a little bit, there's some other things that you have a morning routine actually.
Yeah.
Why don't you share with the audience what else is in your routine and then the impact it's had on you as a leader?
Sure. Happy to do that, David. So, and again, this has evolved, but it's now a habit, so I don't even have to think about it. But coffee is involved. So the first thing I do is my sleepwalk to the coffee machine, and with one eye open, I try to measure in the right amount and get my coffee brewing. And I get the newspaper. I like a print newspaper, just the local news, not an online news kind of person. And that sort of gets me going. It awakens me. And then I have this wonderful porch it feels like a tree fort. So I feel like I'm outside, but the air conditioning or protection from the rain or whatever is right there. And I'll take my journal with me, and the cats might follow me around, and they're like, okay, feed me. And then I'll settle in with, after I've had my chance to sip coffee and wake up a little bit and read the paper, I'm now centered to open up my journal, and I go to a clean page. And if I were to open up my journal for you and just to say, hey, have a look at this storybook, you'll see it's not just written in nice, neat lines. There's a lot of diagrams. There's a lot of arrows and stars, and it's very much a palette, a free thinking kind of thing, almost like a nap, an inventor at dinner scribbling on a napkin, that kind of thing. So once I've settled in, I turn to a question that you once asked me, David, that threw me off, which I was faced with a decision or how to approach a complicated situation. And you said, and I was looking for an answer. I said, Dave, tell me what I need to do here. And you said, well, who do you want to be? And I don't think I had ever been asked that question in such a context. And it really threw me off. But I view that question as a catalyst to introspection. And so that's my question. That's my prompt. I don't literally write down, who do you want to be today, Pat? But that's how I start. So I'll be thinking about my day or about the thing that happened previously. I'll usually put in a celebration, an attaboy to myself about something that worked well, because I do have a tendency to minimize the positives and focus on the big hairy problem that's coming my way. So I do take time to celebrate, and then I'll say, I got all these meetings, but what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And answers to that question vary a lot.
Well, who are you today, by the way?
Oh, today I wanted to be, it's funny you should ask that. Today I said I want to be myself.
Oh, good.
Some days it's more of a characteristic, like I want to make sure I have great candor, or I want to be a great listener today, or I want to approach the day calmly and not be so fast paced and running between meetings that people don't feel they can can seek me out for a small conversation. But today I wrote I wanted to be myself, and which means don't try to be a dean, because a dean that conjures up for me an image of the deans I knew as a student, which were very distant from me and actually not approachable. So that's what I wrote down today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you have the opportunity to be yourself with us today. And so what else is involved? What else is involved in your morning ritual or your morning routine? Is there anything else?
I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, it's naturally what happens as I'm writing about sort of this introspection and who I want to be and what commitments I want to honor. Naturally, things will come to mind that are in the future. And like I'll remember, oh crap, I have to send that email to my boss's boss, and I should have done that yesterday, kind of thing. And so as that comes to mind, that could be something I dwell on, or because I have my journal, I can just write it down in a little bubble in the corner of the page, and then it's gone. Like I feel very comfortable that I won't forget that because it's in my journal, which I do put in my book bag, because turns out there's lots of good stuff in my journal that I want to get to during the day. Like, oh man, I had that great idea. Where is it? It's in my journal. So I'll let that flow. I'll let those ideas come and pass, and then it allows me to get back to what I want to be, and then I'll close it. And this whole thing is like 15 minutes or so. I'll close it with sort of an encouragement to myself to have a great day. So I'll literally write down with some graphical depiction of just encouragement to enjoy the day. Now I'll close the notebook and I'll move on.
Uh-huh.
So I'm imagining, Pat, that right now some of our listeners might be feeling really inspired and think, I don't know how I would like fit that into my day, or I feel like my mornings are chaotic. So I'm sure maybe you had some of the same things, right? Because this is a newer habit for you. So what advice could you give to people who might sort of feel like, I want to do this, and how did you actually make it a habit for yourself?
I want to do this, but I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I never did it. Like I knew like journaling good, Well, first of all, I believed what David's advice was, that this would be a beneficial thing. So I thought I'd give it a try. And I started small, to be perfectly honest. The whole routine I described started more like 5 minutes. So I went to Barnes & Noble. I'm pretty picky about like my style, and I found the right form factor, if you will, and the right pen. There you go. David's showing me his journal right now through our video. And I like Moleskine. I like it to look and feel and smell good. And I found this pen that just it's like an artisan kind of thing. But I once I had all that was not doing it. That was just preparing. And then I found, I just started with 5 minutes, and my first journal entry was probably a quarter of a page, the date. And I literally wrote down, I'm trying this. I don't know if it's going to work.
Well, that's good. That's
good.
good. I mean, I love that you're sharing with the audience, like just start somewhere, and don't be too attached to it being perfect or looking a certain way. Julia Cameron recommends, and you and I have adopted a practice of it's absolutely free form writing. There is no editing. There is no, you don't even have to worry about punctuation or grammar. You just write, you doodle, you put thoughts down, anything like thought that comes to your mind, like this is ridiculous, I have nothing to write today. You write that down.
But I also I love how you're kind of giving permission, Pat. Like it is, like you said, like you weren't sure, but you were willing to try it. It was an experiment to say, like, 5 minutes, right? Like I'll give it 5 minutes and see. And now, you can see the impact that it's having. And maybe to also inspire our listeners, you can tell us maybe like a few things for you as a leader that are different now that you do this.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, Janice. it's made a tremendous impact. And that's why it's become a habit, is when I don't do it, because believe me, I'm not perfect. So there'll be days where I'll not do it for whatever reason. And I can tell. It's almost like if you accidentally had decaf instead of caffeine, you can tell. So, and the impact it's had on me in my day is a tremendous sense of calmness. So because I'm focused more on my goals as who I am in the meetings, which is often present. Like I'll say, let me just be present and listen to all the great things. I have fantastic faculty and staff in my college, fantastic students, and they bring so much to the table, so much more than I do, that if I just, pardon the phrase, if I just shut up and listen, it's all going to be good. So with that perspective, as I come to a meeting, I'm not like going into a meeting with nearly the anxiety I would typically have about a difficult conversation. Because I don't even know the psychology about this at all. I just know it works, that if I've done this, I have a calmness in my day. That opens up space in the room for great things to happen. Not that I bring great things to the table, but I guess I would say I facilitate that. And so that has really changed the dynamic for me in my role.
Awesome.
Wow. Nice.
And Janice, I'm going to bring you in a little bit here, because we have something else in our morning. We actually do something together in our morning ritual. So why don't you share with the audience a little bit about what we do, which is another practice that folks can try and that you mentioned in your blog post, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we actually, coming out of our leadership program, decided that we enjoyed meditating in community. And so David and I, with another person from our leadership program, Karen, most mornings, the three of us come on Zoom, video, and we just have a few minutes to connect and kind of check in. It's nice to kind of know what's going on in each other's lives and feel really connected. And then we set a timer and sit for 20 minutes in silence. And I was mentioning to you and Karen recently, like the mornings when they can't join, like even though we're not talking to each other when we're sitting and meditating, it actually feels so different for me. Like that sense of community, which is a big part of my value system, is missing, and I don't enjoy it as much or get as much out of it. So, and I would echo the same thing, Pat. Like I feel like it sort of just helps me to accept what's coming throughout the day and know that if I just show up and be present, that I'll be able to deal with whatever's coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in your blog post, Pat, you mentioned that you are also have integrated some meditation into your morning.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you're using an app to help with that. So why don't you share a little bit about that?
Sure. I've taken this, and this has come in the past, I'd say since about December, I started doing this at the end of the journaling. I'll meditate typically 5 or 10 minutes, and I like to include prayer in that. I have a particular faith, and I find that to be a great culmination to the journaling. It's a different feel. Like in the journaling, I'm actually, things are coming out and I'm writing them down, and there's a lot of brain activity that's sort of leading to these objects or thoughts. Whereas what meditation helps me do, or the feeling I get, is a calmness, a purpose, a relaxation, and in my prayers, some thank yous and some requests, that sort of thing. And I find that it's just a real nice wrap up in the Simple Habit app that I use. I'll often use, like, one of them is there's no speaking. It just helps you with the timing and some background music or chimes and that sort of thing. And then, if I'm interested, there are series like, leading your team or something. Well, it'd be a little bit of dialogue there from a coach to help you with your meditation. And I found that addition is really nice, and it doesn't take a lot of time. if I don't do the meditation, it does feel different. I feel like the journal can become a little bit too prescribed, and that what the meditation does is the best way I could describe it is calm centering, I would say.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, I would.
Go
ahead, Janice.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I feel like, some of our listeners might not have their own morning rituals. So let's give them something, Pat, that they can actually try themselves if that's something they don't have yet and they want to do an experiment and see if it works for them.
Sure. What I would recommend, or even challenge the listeners to try, is to go ahead and first things first, go to a local bookstore, go online and find a journal. And I would say start on a Monday. Because you already have your routine, set your alarm 15 minutes early. So you carve out that 15 minutes of space and start short like I did, because it worked for me. I think it might work for you to start with one entry. It can be a drawing. It can be a sort of like a diary entry, if you will, or just a reflection, and see how it works. I would say try it. Try it for a week, that 15-minute version, and you'll start. I would predict you'll start to see benefits, and let it grow organically from there. It's not going to land exactly in the routine I've described that works for me. It'll be your own thing, and I think you'll love it.
Yeah, let me just add. I want to just add a couple of other suggestions. When you do this, if you're going to do what Pat is challenging you to do, I would say if you're going to do it for a week, just let the thoughts flow onto the paper. Don't look back at it. Don't reread it. Don't worry about it. And then do it another week, and then do it another week, and then go for a month and never look back at it until after. Because the judge, we have the saboteur that will sabotage us. Oh, what am I writing? This is a bunch of drivel, right? I mean, because you look back at it and you'd be like, oh God.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we haven't said this, but the what you write is not, I do bring it with me because there's some nuggets in there, but it's not a product.
No.
You're doing this for the process,
Exactly.
not the product. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great.
All right.
Well, I just, I want to thank you, Pat, for sharing this. We were so excited, when we asked you, and then you had this idea because it's so powerful. And
Sure.
just also want to thank you for being part of our community.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, I love being part of the community. It's awesome.
So,
All
great.
right. Well, that's it for this time. And now go put that into practice.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.